Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, coming at you with a live stream today here on Sunday. This is the Knicks Sunday stream, joined as always by my co-host and NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. Go Knicks. We beat the Pistons. Can't wait for us to beat the Magic. And we're talking New York Knicks basketball. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. You know, the Knicks, they're coming off of a victory, so that's something put a smile on my face. And then also the Giants earlier today, they had another come from behind victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm extremely pumped about that. And hopefully the Knicks can continue the good vibes on Monday and come out of, that game against Orlando with a victory as well.
Now you're talking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How's everything with you?
Good. Just chilling, hanging out with my pup. Thinking about New York Knicks basketball and different ways to dissect us, how we can bring entertainment and value to all the SV Nation.
I hear you on that. And I'm also a little bit under the weather, so coming on this live stream, being able to talk some Knicks with you guys, hopefully that'll make me feel much better as well. So just want to give a big shout out to everybody in chat. We've got Adele Chapman, we've got Big Chino, Evan Best. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see Prezi the Boss, Dripmore. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Knicks basketball is back. We've got a lot of things to talk about. We've seen some interesting things both with the starters and with the second unit. So we definitely got a lot to talk about. Anybody you want to shout out, Foxy, before we jump into it?
It's not a show without the wonderful Geraldine McIver. JJ again. My guy JJ is awesome. I love chatting with him. Core Mega, man, he's happening. Really cool dude. So can't wait. We'll be chopping it up with you for the next hour and a half.
Yep. Also, salute to Prophet Mentality. He said, "I got a doppelganger in Jalen Duren."
Did you see what I said? But you have a much higher basketball IQ.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Clyde was killing him in that game against the Pistons, man. It was comedy. I was like, man, you can see why he's a Hall of Famer there, because he definitely was entertaining.
Yeah, that's what happens. You draft the youngest kid in all of the draft last year. He's young, he's athletic, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing on the court.
And as Knicks fans, we should be familiar because we have a pretty important player on this team that was once in that spot, and that's Mitchell Robinson. So if Jalen Duren can develop into a player that Mitchell Robinson is for us, then I think that's going to be a solid pick for the Pistons. But just think about it. We got Mitchell Robinson in the second round, and they spent, what was it, the 11th pick for Duren, so we definitely got to steal for that one.
11th pick plus other trades to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Facts,
other assets, yeah.
Facts. So there's been 2 games since the last time we spoke. We had the season opener against the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, unfortunately, we lost that game, even though it was a very exciting game. I was actually over at the 40-40 Club. I was invited to the Knicks Fan TV season opener, so that was dope. Got to watch it with JD and some of the guys out there. So, Foxy, anything jump off the screen for you during that game? I know there were some big moments for Cam and the Cam Hive. I know I was out there screaming at the top of my lungs because I felt like that was Cam's moment, even though he wasn't able to follow up on it in the following game. Was there anything from Cam that you saw that might have thought, he actually could crack into this rotation?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, if I was Tibbs, I'd grab him by the shoulder and say, God has given you such wonderful skills that at every 10 shots, I want 8 of you attacking the basket. That's your strength. You're sneaking to the basket, I want you to attack that basket and take 2 or 3 jumpers. Don't settle for 3-point jumpers. And also, you and I talked off thing. I watched the game several times and I said to Keith, you know what? I think iHeart unlocked Cam. There was no, if you watch it, there was no Mitchell hanging out, bringing his defender into the paint. There was no congestion. So he was able to rock and roll, man, and get to the hole. So I was really happy for Cam in that game. And it just shows, that, we had a nice amount of fast break points, but to unlock Cam, go to the basket, man. We don't want you taking jumpers. It's nice to keep him honest, take a jumper every once in a while, but your strength is effortless. That athleticism using either hand. Go to the hole, son. Go to the hole.
Yep, got to continue to attack in the basket. But let's look at the game. Just brief overview of what went down. You can see Memphis won 115-112. They won the rebounding battle with 64 rebounds to our 54. We had more assists than them with 28 assists, 7 steals to their 6. They had 7 blocks, 13 turnovers. We only had 12. And, they won the game, even though that they really didn't shoot the ball too well. I think you look at that game, the fact that they had a guy in John Morant that could just take over at moments, at will. And for, some stretches out there, RJ was having some difficulties staying in front of him. So I think that was really one of the major differences in the reason why we lost that game. They just have an elite player in John Morant that was able to take over. But you have to like the fight that we were able to fight back and, push that game into overtime.
Yeah, I thought the refs robbed us of a game. I'm really, really serious. I was furious. Hey, the score was 110. The ball was stolen. Jalen gets it. 1, he's fouled. 2, it was goaltending. He took it off the backboard. And 3, even if he got the rebound, he dribbled out of bounds with over 7 seconds left. So 3 major F-ups by the damn refs. So the score, would have been really 113-110 New York Knicks. So I know Jalen may have missed a couple of jumpers in this. Hey, man, hopefully karma and the yin-yang of life and basketball come back and we'll win a game. But was it me? Every damn bounce went their way. It was like loose balls. Oh, man, they got it. How the hell did they get that ball? One after the other. But I was so aggravated at the refs. I'm like saying, come on, man, we have artificial intelligence now. These people can't do it right. Let the computers do it. But it was just crazy. Randle getting pushed from behind, just other things like that. I was just like, come on, this isn't cool. But hey, we played very good defense the first 2 games. We held the Pistons in the last game to 42%. 25% from 3, 43%. And then in the first game, we held the Grizzlies 34% from 3, 38.9. When you hold John, that team, to that, you have to win that game. So unfortunately, we didn't, but we played really, really well.
Yeah, but I like the fact that we know we're going to have a difficult stretch to start this season. So at least we see the guys coming out with fight. We're seeing them, push teams like, a young, good Memphis team to the brink. And then we saw them follow up and beat a team that they're supposed to beat in the Detroit Pistons. And they beat them convincingly. I mean, the only time it was really competitive, I think, was, in that third quarter when they started to try to chip away at that 20-point lead. And they got it, I think, as low as, 12 or 14?
I think 12. I think it was 12, but you mean the SB Nation was like, not deja vu, not last year all over again, please. But thank goodness, the Brunson effect and everything else, we stabilized, and everybody else, not this year.
Yeah, we were able to withhold, and I was a little bit nervous, I'm not going front, because in the first half, the second unit, they played well. So, at least they had that heading into the second half, but we've seen the second unit struggle over the last, 2-3 games prior. So with me, I was just hoping that we did not see a moment where this team kind of had a meltdown. And me personally, I was texting everybody like, yo, if we somehow lose this game, then you gotta fire Tibbs before the clock strikes 12, because there was no reason that game should have been in question at any point after that first half. We punched them in the mouth, and we showed them that, they're a young team and they do have a lot of young raw talent, but they still have some ways to go. And we had a steady force in Brunson, also RJ. He's had somewhat of a bounce back game. We'll get into that a little bit further. And Julius Randle, he has been a steady force as well. And we also have to mention Quick, who we'll get into in a deep dive a little bit later. But he actually came alive in that game against the Pistons. So that's definitely encouraging for Knicks fans, because we were starting to wonder, is some of the trade noise and uncertain future starting to get to Emmanuel Quickley, and maybe he's starting to press. But we saw him actually, knock down some threes, knock down some shots in the paint and whatnot. So that is definitely encouraging.
Absolutely. Hey, it's the worst thing about training camp is that you work to death. So between that and the preseason games, you're exhausted. So you start the season with heavy legs that you're looking forward to the season. So you're not going through 2 days, 3 days and stuff like that. So It'll take a few, and also Jalen is wonderful, but hey, he's new to the team, man. It takes a little time, and Cam and a couple of guys, D Rose, they're rusty, so it's going to take a little time for them to get their rhythm. But we'll get there. Hey, I was much more impressed with the Memphis game. Detroit's a really bad team. You know, their defense, they were going to the hole with nobody there, man. Like you said, Clyde and was just destroying other, Durant and others. But I'm looking forward to us winning not only against Orlando, but against Charlotte. I want us to be 3-1 after 4. It's essential.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we beat some of these teams upcoming. We got to beat the Charlotte Hornets, have to beat the Orlando Magic, because right after that we're going up against the Bucks. We're going up against the Cavs, who I know they don't have Garland. He got scratched the inside of his eyelid, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's probably not going to be available, but those are still going to be competitive teams to go up against. We also have the Nets a few games after that. So to get to a good start in these first 4 games, I think is the plan. And that way you can kind of survive some of the rough waters that we're going to face when we start going through this next, 5-6 game stretch.
Yeah, well said.
So we mentioned Jalen Brunson, and we have his stats up here for the first 2 games. Now against Memphis, he 15 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists to no turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 39% from the field, 25% from the 3-point line, didn't take any free throws. And then against Detroit, he had 17 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. Once again, no turnovers in 28 minutes roughly. He shot 55% from the field, 50% from the 3-point line, and 60% from the charity stripe. So Foxy, we know Brunson was brought in here to be the point guard of this team and to steer us in the right direction, be a force out there that other teammates, especially Julius Randle, can kind of look to and say, all right, this is the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands and he's going to be making some of the decisions out there on the court. So based on all of that information, what is your first impressions of Jalen Brunson's first couple of games with the New York Knicks in week 1?
A short sample, as we know, but 64 minutes and no turnovers. We're again only 2 games, leading the league in assist to turnover ratio, and I think he's the first player to have 15 assists. I think 15 assists in his first 2 games. I think it's I had it here a second ago, but he's just so darn impressive. You don't know if they're up by 20 or down by 20 with the look on his face. Yeah, he's the first player in Knicks franchise history and just the 3rd player in NBA history to dish out 15 assists and not commit a single turnover over his first 2 games. So, hey, the shooting, he'll get into his groove, like we said, his rhythm and everything else. But the other things, he's just magnificent, keeping that dribble, head up, and just other things. Quickley had an interview and then just said that, Brunson invited him over to his house and they hung out. And, he was just saying, and D Rose said glowing things about the way he sees the court. And it just reminds me of Reggie Bullock when he got traded. He just sent out a tweet that said, Knicks got a great player, but they got an even better person off the court. So, we talk about culture, his leadership's in actions, man. He's getting to know the guys, getting to really know them off the court. And it's a lot easier for them to come together as a group when they like each other. And he's a guy that's easy to like. No attitude. He is who he is. He's real secure. He's grounded. And just love his game, man. Like I said, D Rose, Hall of Fame guy in my eyes. And just saying the way that Brunson sees the floor, the way he gets everybody involved, he's great, man. So, wow, I'm so happy. Like I said, I got a bromance with this guy. My wife better watch out. I just like his coolness, man. He just, when you have somebody that doesn't get too amped and stuff like that, it's contagious, man. Everybody is like, all right, I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not going to be, flexing and stuff like that. Let's get serious.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what Jalen Brunson has been able to do so far. I mean, we've mentioned his ability to get into the paint, but not only get into the paint, but keep his dribble and also find guys out on the perimeter for threes. And we know that's the core of that's the basis of Tom Thibodeau's offense, to try and collapse the paint, force the defense to adjust, and then find open shooters out there, get into the paint and spray. So for him to be able to do that, and for him to be able to be a threat as a passer and a scorer, I think it's definitely new to the Knicks point guard situation. I think for the most part, we've had guys that really couldn't score for themselves, create for themselves, and if they couldn't set up teammates, or vice versa. They can try to set up teammates, but they really couldn't do much in order to create some offense for themselves. And now we see a guy in Jalen Brunson who can do all the above, and he does have some limitations defensively, but he more than makes up with it by the ability to sacrifice his body and to get charges, and we've seen that in preseason, and we've also seen that here in the regular season. So I'm thrilled to have him as the starting point guard, and I think in these first 2 games, I really haven't seen much to really critique the signing. I think for the most part, he's been exactly what we've needed at the point guard position, and also he's been a point guard that can kind of overlap. He can play with the starters, and he can also play out there with the second unit. We've seen times with him and Quick out there on the court, and I think he definitely helps Quick out there when they have shared some floor time. So I'm thrilled with what he's been able to do so far, and hopefully he can continue to build upon it over these next couple of games.
Yeah, my neighborhood must have thought I was a mass killer, because when he took that charge on Ja, I let out a scream like, yeah, that's New York Knicks basketball. You take it. That's it. That's it. So, yeah, he is so wicked smart. Hey, yeah, he's 6'1". There's some defensive issues, but he has such heart, and taking that play, that's a winning play. Like I said, I think the refs stole that game for us, but we'll get it back. The yin yang of life, man. We'll get it back. But Jalen, man, I love you, man. That's the type of play we want. That's contagious. Giving up his body. This guy's getting beat up. He's holding his ribs.
Yeah. I was a little nervous.
Yeah, I know. He's taking a lot of hits so far.
Yeah, man. I mean, you want him to be careful, but I mean, if he's got to sacrifice his body to help the team win, you can't really go after him for it or critique him for that. That's just part of the game, and that's what, like you say, fans fall in love with these players, the guys that are willing to make that sacrifice for the betterment of the team.
Exactly, and like we said, he's an extension of Tibbs out there, so it's the first time he has that type of point guard that he can trust to do the right thing.
Yep. Shout out to JJ. He says Brunson isn't flashy, but he's just so solid. He's not too flashy, but he does have those moments where he just has that crafty footwork, and you're like, whoa, how was he able to create space with that? And I think that is something that I hope some of the guards on his team can kind of pick up from him, because his footwork, I think, is top 5, top 10 when it comes to guards in the league, especially down in that post area, in the paint area.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think he went to hung out with Elijah one. That's stunning. I'm serious. Like you said, top footwork. He did a play, I think, against Cade and stuff, fake one way and footwork, and then it did a little floater. It was like, sweet. Wow, man, that footwork is elite.
And then he's got an array of shots from that post area. He's got fadeaways. He has that little up and under where he scooped it and was able to get the lay in. So he's got a bag. And I think we have yet to see what he can really do out there on the court. Just wait until he gets a little bit more comfortable with the guys he's out there with.
Exactly.
All right. So, Foxy, the next player we're going to be talking about is the one, the only R.J. Barrett. So in the first game, he had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists to 2 turnovers, which is not especially good. He played 37 minutes in an overtime game, shot 17% from the field, 0% from the three-point line, and he shot 83% from the charity stripe. Now against the Pistons, had a much better game. He had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists to one turnover in 27 minutes, and he shot 53% from the field. Once again, 0% from the three-point line, but he shot 100% from the charity stripe. Now, he did get better in that Detroit game. I like the fact that he was able to knock down some of the tough layups. But if I did have to give one critique, he did have a couple gimmies that he missed. 2 floaters down in the paint. And I was texting George and JD, and I'm like, yo, he's got to do some heel raises. He should have boofed that because he was way too close to the rim to throw up that weak floater. And, I think a play or two after that, Jaden Ivey was probably in the same position on the opposite end of the court, and he threw it down. And I'm like, that's what he should be doing. We need him to be a little bit more aggressive attacking the paint and throwing it on people's heads. But, once again, Stewart was down there, and he is a shot blocker, so that may have paid come into effect as well. But I think the game against Detroit, you saw him make some difficult layups. He still has been unable to knock down the three-point line. And I'm a little knocked down some three-pointers, but I'm a little concerned because I feel like the jump shot doesn't look as smooth as it was in the preseason. It feels like the hitch is back. So, Foxy, what have you seen in the first two games from RJ? Do you think he, is feeling it a little bit too much about the new contract, or is just earlier in the season and they'll figure it out?
They'll figure it out. It's early in the season. We're not going to get crazy, but the reality is I didn't really look at it as a bounce back. As we talked about, it was a porous defense, man. He was getting to the hole, and against really a power forward playing center with Stewart there, not a real shot blocker or somebody. So there's a really crazy little detail, folks. He hasn't hit a jump shot so far this year. All his points are in the paint. Like he said, I think he missed 7 bunnies in the first 2 games. But he has not hit a jump shot yet this season. So all of his baskets were right at the basket. And I think maybe also, as crazy as it sounds, I was really surprised at Tibbs putting on, folks, if you look at the shot charts there, the circles are made and the X's are not made. And the first game you saw how bad he was at the rim and made up for it against Detroit. But I think that was a lot more because it wasn't a Time Lord or that type of player there, that was scaring him. So, with Steven Adams and other things, it was a different element when he played Memphis. So he'll get it, but I think you're really accurate. And I talked to George too, and we both said, he's aiming and he has a hitch in his shot. What the hell, where'd that come from? I thought the muscle memory working with Drew Hanlon, his shooting coach and everything. But, hey, his strength is getting there. I was surprised at Tibbs that his first 2 games, he had to go against Ja and he had to go against Jaden Ivey. And Ja, it was painful. Ja blew past him on literally every possession. He looked like he was in freaking cement. He looked slow, and everybody looks slow against Ja, so I'll throw it there. But Jaden Ivey gets a dependable jumper in the next couple of years, folks. He's a monster. You can understand why the Knicks wanted to go all in to get this guy. But speed kills. And, what you were saying on that play with Jaden, what Jaden did and what RJ didn't, that's what athleticism does, folks. His lack of burst, RJ's lack of hops, that's his problem. And that's why, last year, 2 years ago, his shot was blocked 86 times. Last year, 105 times in 2 less games. We need him to kick that ball out. And, the positive was, George and everybody else was talking during the game is that he had 3 beautiful dimes in that first quarter.
Yep.
So I'm like, that's it. That's what we're asking. But he only had 1 dime for the rest of the way. So I'm like saying, come on, RJ, your game will go to the next level. I want you averaging 6 assists. So you have these beautiful dimes in that first quarter. We want that every quarter. So if you get into that, you do your customary move, you get the ball, and then you go with your left hand and get to the hole, kick it out. So, but, Keith and I were talking, hey, folks, did you hear Ja Morant was mic'd up? And Ja said to his teammates, yo, go under on RJ, left. So they're basically saying exactly what Anthony Edwards said last year in an interview, like basically saying RJ can't shoot. So we're going to go under the screen. Let RJ ain't gonna beat us. And also he just goes left every time. So it was really interesting with Ja Morant. We heard that wasn't fans, that wasn't podcasters. That's real NBA coaches and players talking about their strategy, that they're willing to go under because they don't feel RJ's jumpers that, is solid. So that's something for us to look for, that the NBA teams are going to go under the screen on RJ this year until he makes them go over that screen. And they're just going to be, the smart defenders at least are going to try to take away that left hand and beat me with your right hand.
Yeah, him being unable to knock a jump shot down so far in the first 2 games has been a little bit alarming, especially when we thought we were starting to make some progress with what we saw in the preseason, because the mechanics looked beautiful. Everything looked, in sync. He didn't have that hitch, but now it seems like he's almost, trying to aim it too much, and maybe he's pressing just a little bit, but I don't see why he would need to press, because, he's first year on a new contract, but contract's already been signed, and now is the time for him to kind of step up and prove that the investment that they made in him was justifiable. And the contract for RJ to really have to prove to step up and prove that he's worth this contract, he really doesn't have to go too crazy, because after he got signed, Hero got signed for more, and then Jordan Poole got signed for even more than that. So I mean, you would like to see him hit the ground running to start the season, but if he's a slow starter, I mean, I think we've seen that over the last few seasons. He has taken a little bit of a time to kind of get into the swing of things, and I think if you look at this schedule, I mean, he doesn't really have too much time to really get into the flow before we're starting to see a major step up in competition, because, once you start playing against teams like the Cavs, the Bucks, the Nets, you really can't have these off shooter nights and expect to be competitive in those games. So hopefully he'll be able to figure it out. I mean, we've already seen in the preseason that he has the ability to knock down a three at a high clip. We just need to see that now in these games that they actually count.
Yeah. You can have the best shooting mechanics, but you have to have an element of touch. And that's the one thing that RJ really has not shown. He doesn't have soft hands, a touch. You see Jalen, you see Ja with there's the softness to their shot. He just has no touch. And I've never really seen a player that has no touch get touch. I've seen players that have bad mechanics get better mechanics, but I've never really seen somebody that doesn't have touch get touch in their career. So I'm hoping he's one of the first that I've ever seen. But he's just so robotic sometimes, and the ball just comes off hard. The rim doesn't like his shots. Some guys it's so soft, bounce in, bounce his, bounce out. And I'll never forget Wally Szczerbiak. And folks, if you didn't see Wally Szczerbiak was like a blink away from a 50, 40, 90 player, man. That guy can shoot. He knows all about mechanics. And the thing that always echoes in my head about RJ is Wally saying, I've played with a lot of great shooters in my lifetime from the minute they came into the league and onward. And great shooters, when they miss, they shoot either short or long, but they're dead on. RJ's shots, he's a streaky shooter, but RJ is left or right. He's not straight on. And that's the problem. He's not short or long. He's left or right. And that's not a good recipe, for being a consistent shooter, at least.
Yeah, you can definitely see the lack of touch in those two floater attempts.
Oh, absolutely.
Both of those didn't really seem like they had much of a shot coming off the hands. So hopefully he'll be able to work on that. I know you say people don't necessarily have the ability to develop touch, but he's got a couple guys that have great floater games on his team, and Derrick Rose, Quick has displayed the ability to drop the floater. So hopefully he can get into the lab with them, and some of their techniques can rub off on him. Fingers crossed.
That's for sure. Or we got to invent a shooter's touch club to play with.
Facts. We might just have the comment of the night from East Blue Drew. He says Giants 6-1, Knicks winning, point guard, even the bum Jets winning right now. Go New York, LOL. Facts.
Yeah,
it's madness.
I'm upset though. Breece Hall, this kid I love on the Jets, had a 62-yard touchdown run. He hurt his knee, so I don't know how severe it is. But if they lose him for the season, man, that's a huge, man, he was something.
Definitely a big loss. He was a big factor for them in both the passing and the running game. So it would be a major loss if they do lose him for an extended amount of time. So best wishes to him and the Jets, hoping he has a speedy recovery.
And Danny Jones, he's a horse, man. He's like a linebacker playing quarterback.
He's got to be careful, though. He's got to get better with his sliding. You see that slide where he slid right into the brace? That's how you get into trouble.
Yeah, I thought it was a penalty on one of his slides, actually.
But I think there was that same slide where he slid and it came up high.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he'll figure it out. I'm more concerned about Evan Neal, seeing what happened with that injury.
Yep, and Brenderson also
Bredesen
was
went
hurt.
down.
Yeah,
But Bredesen,
always goes down.
yeah, you prepare for that. But Evan Neal, man, that's our 10-year tackle right there. Phew.
Well, he hasn't played like a 10-year tackle early in the season. He's played like, you want to tackle him, go.
He started to turn it around last couple of games, though. He was trending in the right direction. So now this injury kind of derails that. So extremely unfortunate. But I mean, this is not a season where where the Giants were supposed to go and be Super Bowl contenders. So I'm not really worried about the wins or losses. I'm more so concerned about his health. Trying to continue to build that camaraderie with the offensive line. All right. So, Foxy, getting back to the Knicks, we are going to discuss everybody's favorite Knick. And that will be Julius Randle. So, to start the season, Julius Randle he looked pretty solid for the most part. I think he's bought into the system. He really hasn't been doing anything egregious out there on the court for the most part. He did have a couple bad fouls, I believe, in the Memphis game that kind of put us in a bad spot. So that's something you would have to mention if you were going to, point out some critiques or whatever the case may be. But you can see in the game against Memphis, he had 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6-3 assist to turnover ratio in 34 minutes. He shot 56% from the field, 33% from the three-point line, and 80% from the charity stripe. Now against Detroit, he had 15 points, 6 rebounds, no assists, no turnovers in 25 minutes, and he shot 42% from the field, 67% from the three-point line, and also 75% from the charity stripe. Now, one weird thing in that Detroit game, we blew them out, but there were only a couple of people that had negative plus minuses, and that would have been Julius Randle and Evan Fournier. So that was a weird stat that kind of took me by surprise. But what have you seen from Julius Randle so far in these two games that kind of give you the impression that Julius Randle has either bought in or hasn't bought into the system so far?
Well, like I said, I'm treating him like the slate is clean, and I'm proud of him, man. Let's applaud this guy. He's an elite player. I heard D-Rose said his approach has been totally different this year coming in. You've seen some beautiful plays that he's made, some passes. He's passing, not being selfish at all. It's going to take a little while for him to get into the rhythm of playing with a new point guard. But as we said, Detroit, it was a weird game, but folks, he's 20-10-5 every game, this guy. So we want him to be more efficient. But I have no complaints about Julius Randle so far this season. His game, his attitude, you see him clapping his hands, talking to the players around the foul line. Yeah, I have nothing negative to say about Julius. Just keep it up. Just keep working hard, and take your shot, take your good shots. So I'm real happy I'm proud of Julius, man. He came back from a tough year last year. It's only 2 games in, but he has the right attitude, and that's really happening. I actually see him a couple smiles break out on his face. Last year, you did not see that at all.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be in a much better mood this season. Hopefully, he's gotten past whatever issues he may have had last year that caused him to act the way he was. But this season, he looks like he's bought in. He's looked like he's deferring to the point guard in Jalen Brunson. I think that was very important for Knicks fans to see coming into this season, because if we're going to be serious about being playoff contenders, we need Julius Randle to be that 20-10-5 kind of guy. Now, he doesn't have to average those type of numbers, but he has to still have that type of mindset where he's looking to score, looking to rebound, and also looking to be a willing passer. Because when we have that type of Julius Randle, he's extremely dangerous to try and guard. And when opposing defenses have multiple things to guard when it comes to a Julius Randle, who offensively is multifaceted, he can shoot the shot, he can drive, he can pass. So when defenses have to try and game plan against him, it then opens up things for other guys out there on the court. And now this season, we have a point guard in Jalen Brunson that can attack when teams try to give too much attention to Julius Randle. And we have an RJ Barrett who hope in year 4 is going to take that next step and become a legitimate threat night in and night out with more consistent play, then I think that really opens up for the things up for Julius Randle to play his game and get to his spots a lot easier. So, to start the season, we've seen that, he can still go out there and get you that 20, 10, and 5. And then in games where he doesn't get you 20, 10, and 5, his team can go out there and beat the brakes off of a team. So I think that's important for me to see, knowing that even in a game where Julius Randle doesn't give you the gaudy stats, the team can continue to play well and go out there and get a victory like we saw against Detroit.
Yeah, and we've talked about we're really looking at Tibbs' evolution as a coach this year, his development too. The games where Julius doesn't have it, that's where you play Obi a little more minutes. Sit him down, have Othello Harrington talk to him about what he's not doing right, and when you get back in there, we like to see this and that, but they have leverage. But go Julius, Juju boy, I'm proud of you, man. Just do your 20-10-5. And you're not going to hear any complaints from the Knicks fandom. Just do your shot. You don't have to take the team on your shoulders no more. Are you muted?
Yes, I was muted. I apologize. I had a whole jingle over on this side that nobody could listen to. Maybe that was for the best.
Wait a minute, my dog started barking anyway. What's going on? Yo, what's up?
I hear
it's
you.
like a dog whistle. Nobody can hear it but my dog.
Yeah, all right, here we go. What else we got going on in the chat? We've got Cody saying Julius Randle is staying in a nice lane. You're seeing him consciously trying to defer and working at letting the game come to him or pass when he's under pressure. Gotta like his attitude. Yep. Facts. Yeah. Let's see what else we got going on.
We have 109 people in the chat, only 38 likes. As Keith and I always say, please help us get to that 100 metric. It really helps us with YouTube. So if you have hit that like, if you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. If you haven't subscribed, as we always say, it's the one-stop shop for all Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. So please check us out. And we guarantee if you're new to the chat, please put new so we can give you a proper hello and shout out from the family. But please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content. Please share the link on your favorite social media platforms if you can't catch it live. Shout out to the replay gang. We love all your comments. Now, shout out to the truckers across the country. Shout out to the vets. Shout out to the first responders. We love you. And also shout out to the best moms on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Yep, thank you for that, Foxy. We've got Keith Turner in chat. He said, I told people Julius Randle need to just let his game apologize for him. Facts.
That's really well said, Keith. I hope all is well with the family. That's poetry.
Yeah, the best deodorizer is good play. So you put your all out there on the court, and fans will just naturally gravitate to you. I mean, look at the guys that the fans just, are attracted to. It's guys that high energy players to look like they're putting their all out there on the court, and they may not be the most talented at times, but if they're putting out the most effort at times, that's what it'll take to overcome a more talented opposition. So if Julius Randle can continue to go out there, play hard, and put his heart out there, every minute he's out there on the court, then he'll be able to win the fans over once again. I think he's already trending in that direction over the first 2 games. So salute to him.
And like you said, Keith, he's a beast. Now that we have Jalen and RJ, going to the next level, and D Rose and Quick and other, people on this team, that if a defense can't throw 2 guys every game at Julius, man, he's a dangerous player one-on-one.
Yep. Facts. East Blue Juice says, did you do Evan yet, or does it not matter because he's getting traded?
the coolest.
No, we haven't gotten to Fournier yet, but we'll get to him soon. The next player we'll actually be discussing is someone who we hope will be here longer than Evan Fournier, and that's going to be Mitchell Robinson. Now, the first game was a bummer. He only played 12 minutes, as you can see, and that was because he was in foul trouble. And it's pretty ironic, too, because the last time we were on a stream, Foxy, someone mentioned and said that we were just out there blabbering, narratives and whatnot, saying that Mitch could potentially be in foul trouble, which would then give an avenue for Sims to get some more playing time. And look, game one, he's only playing 12 minutes because of foul trouble. You know, these things happen, and that's why you have to have a deep team, because you never know. It might be Mitchell Robinson one day, it might be Isaiah, iHeart the next game, and you might have a need for a guy like Jericho Sims to come in. But for this game, it was the game against Memphis, and ironically, Tibbs didn't even put Sims in that moment. He just played iHeart the most minutes in his career.
Yeah, that bothered me because iHeart, look, he was hurt, man. He was like bending over, like saying, trying to get a breath in there and stuff like that. And that's when you get hurt. It looked like his back was a little out, iHeart, so I hope his back doesn't go out. So I definitely thought that Sims should have at least got 5 minutes in that game, without a doubt. But Tibbs,
Tibbs being Tibbs. He had another moment in the game against Detroit that I was a little bit upset at. I don't know why he had to put Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett back in the game with like 5 minutes to go. I'm like, bro, you about to empty the bench. There's no reason for them to go in. Why you sitting Cam?
Yeah, let's not do the same thing as last year. I know. The only thing I feel badly for Mitch is like there seems to be like Tibbs got a new toy to play with, and his name is iHeart. I think we said that.
We've been saying it all summer. Yeah, iHeart might be the guy closing, and that's exactly what we saw.
But 40 minutes is not closing.
40 minutes is starting. That's called a pseudo start.
Exactly. And what would he play? 21? 21 in the. I think iHeart played 21 in the second game. So I think that's going to be the sweet spot that he'll play around 27 minutes, Mitch, and 21 for iHeart because of that, his ability to stretch. He rebounds well. Obviously, we've seen his passing out of the pinch post and stuff like that. So, but it's a good thing. Mitch will get his thing. Hey, in 2 blocks every game. Hey, wait a minute. I got to ask you a question, SV Nation. I've been having eye problems. Did he actually take a shot in the paint, Mitch, where he got fouled?
In what quarter?
Yeah, I think it was like in the second or third quarter against Detroit. He actually put up a shot. So did I see things, or was that just the Northern Lights speaking? But I'm like, iHeart's putting pressure on him that he actually put up a shot. So he went to the foul line and stuff like that.
Oh, you mean the left hook, or if I'm not mistaken?
It was like, I don't know.
It wasn't a jump shot.
I love you. I know. It's like I can't define it. It's a non-definable shot. It's like the last time I saw a non-definable shot, Nerlens Noel was taking it because I don't know what the hell it was. So it was a combination of a couple things, but he put it up, and I like that. Like we said, take that shot, and like we said, his foul shots, he's not so bad so far. It's kind of crazy. It's like a 50 mile per hour. It's a lot. It's really the fastest foul shot I have ever seen. But if it goes in, I have no problem with that. But it's only 2 games in. Mitch will get his groove. He'll be blocking shots. He's setting nice picks. I like the screens he's setting so far this season. Again, if that's a shout out to Othello Harrington, I love your game, man, what you're doing to these young guys. So, like I said, I think we have the strongest 5 unit in the league. Play Sims a couple of minutes. Please take a lesson from Kerr. I'm not saying 10 minutes. Put him in for at least 5 minutes. Give the guys both a breather, because I think Sims, especially on perimeter and stuff that we'll see, it makes sense to get him in some rhythm too.
Yeah, one thing I like is they're actually running some plays for him too. Did you see that? What was it? The Spain pick and roll where they ended up setting a screen for Mitch was setting a screen for Brunson for the pick and roll, and they had, I think it was RJ set a screen for Mitch, and that's what ended up opening him up for that alley-oop dunk. I forgot what quarter it is. It might have been the first, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd like that. That's a new little wrinkle into the offense to get Mitch involved. Then you start to pay Mitch that type of money, you should try to feature him a little bit more. So to see Tibbs try to do that a little bit in the Detroit game with that play, I think I hope they start to expand on that a little bit more, because we're seeing when iHeart's in the game, iHeart has the green light to shoot. He's putting up shots.
Yeah, the only thing, and I've said this in preseason, that I ask of Mitch is he had 2 offensive rebounds and no defensive rebounds in the first game, and he had 4 offensive rebounds and 1 defensive rebound. And people, he's out at the perimeter and all these things, and I just always say the same thing, folks. Clint Capella, Time Lord, Steven Adams, they average around 6 defensive rebounds. So if we want Mitch, you signed that $60 million contract, we want a double-double. So on offense between Brunson and RJ and Randle and Fournier, he's definitely on lobs and putbacks. He's gonna have double-digit in points. He needs to pick it up on the defensive rebounding side.
I don't disagree. I think there are some reasons why he doesn't get as many defensive rebounds as we would like. But, definitely doesn't hurt for him to try a little bit harder on that end. Especially when you see that he's so good grabbing offensive rebounds, really should be better or just as good grabbing those defensive rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. Adele Chapman, salute. Thank you for tuning in. He says, should we expect early game air balls from Obi? He needs the minutes to get warmed up to produce. We saw one in the Detroit game from, the right corner in the first half. That one was a bad shot. I was like, ooh. So, hopefully he doesn't have too many air balls because we need him to start knocking down his shot. And not only knocking down his shot, but at least the misses can't be looking as bad as that air ball, because that's definitely going to be in the back of Tom Thibodeau's mind. If we need you to knock down a big shot and, a couple minutes ago you shot up an air ball, might be a little bit difficult for him to put some trust in him. So once Obi's able to knock down some shots more consistently, I think we'll see him start to get a little increase in his minutes per game.
Yeah, he had a real ugly miss on a mid-range coming across the lane that was just way off, man. Like, whoa, where the hell is that? But hey, he came back. Hey, he's that type of energy guy, man. I don't know if you want to go to Obi now, or I'll leave it up to you. But Obi, he can put up points really quick and doesn't have to take jumpers. He's that type of player.
Yeah, we'll save Obi for a little bit. We'll give SB Nation a little bit of a tease. What we'll do is we'll discuss the last member of the starting unit, and that is going to be Evan Fournier. So,
bonjour, comment ça va aujourd'hui? Ça va bien?
Only thing I know how to say in French is my name. Je m'appelle Maki.
Yo!
Half decent, right?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. So against Memphis, he had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 36% from the field goal. From the field, he shot 50% from 3, 100% from the charity stripe. And then against Detroit, he had 8 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists to 1 turnover. He played right around 20 minutes in the game, and he shot 38% from the field and 40% from the 3-point line. So with Evan Fournier this year, it's just a lot of what we saw last season. He's able to knock down the 3 at a high clip, 3 of 6 in the first game, 2 of 5 in the second game. But he's still a cone out there on defense. You should. I forgot what play it was. I think they were in a fast break. I think Bogdanovich was taking the ball, and Evan Fournier was just standing there in the paint trying to play defense, and he didn't go anywhere. He just allowed Bogdanovich to euro right past him, and I'm like, yo, Bogdanovich is crafty with the footwork, but he's not that. He's not quick enough for you to be left like you're stuck in stupid. Like, I'm like, come on, Fournier, you got to do better, especially in transition. And we had numbers too.
Put your body in there.
Yeah, do like Brunson, get a charge or something. But Fournier does have moments where he's able to get some strips and things like that, where you're like, all right, that's a redeeming quality. But for the most part, I see too many defensive possessions where he's getting blown by, and I'm just like, man, can Grimes come back already? Because we need to get somebody that can play a little bit more, defense out there, especially when we're going up against.
Yeah,
I was trying to be nice, but we need somebody in there that can step in and play better defense, especially when we start to go up against more difficult matchups. And if anything, Evan Fournier can come off the second unit. He can shoot 50% from the 3-point line, 40% from the charity stripe, and be out there right around what we saw in the game against Detroit, 20 minutes per game.
Hey, he's there because, folks, just looking at that 3-point, shooting 45% for the season. That's exactly why Tibbs has his mouth here. He's a sniper. So he's willing to, sacrifice a little on the defensive end because of the way he shoots those threes, man. So he's consistent. He's not pretty, like we said, he has issues, but, we saw in that first game some nice chemistry with Mitch. If he could just build on that on the assist side, and hit some of those shots, then be consistent on the 3-point side. He'll be our JJ Redick, our Kyle Korver, our thing. But I think Tibbs is the type of guy that, like Peyton a couple of years ago, no matter what, he's going to start Evan Fournier, and then when Grimes gets healthy, he'll bring him in. But can't you just start Grimes? I don't know if that's Tibbs' MO, man.
Especially if they're trying to keep Fournier's value up. We got another funny comment from DeRoss. It says, after Grimes gets over his noelitis by Christmas.
Yo, DeRoss, my friend, hope all is well with you and your family.
Salute. The Evan Best says, I hearts a Noel who can shoot and not block but has no hands. I wouldn't go that far. I think he has better hands than Noel, that's for sure.
Much better hands, and much better feel for the game on offense, and his enthusiasm. He absolutely, we'll get to him, so I won't shoot my load now.
Keith Turner says Fournier is a walking bucket. That's why he's a starter in this league, but he ain't coming off the bench. It's not happening. Well, we'll see. If he does get moved, I'm pretty sure he'll be moved to a team where he's coming off the bench, so I don't see why he can't come off the bench for us. Mm-hmm. What else we got going?
And as Tibbs always says, it's not who starts, who finishes. As long as he gets some minutes. But like we said, he's getting $38 million for the next 2 years, Evan Fournier. So I think he could, deal with it.
Yep. Let's see. East Blue Drew says if Cam and Grimes start hooping crazy, Evan on the Trailblazers. On the Trailblazers or on the Lakers? Either or.
Lakers need shooters, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what's gnawing at me? The Lakers keep this trajectory. If New Orleans owns their pick, if New Orleans gets Victor Wembanyama, I'm going to scream. That
would be ridiculous. You'd have to look into vetoing that. They vetoed the Chris Paul to Lakers trade. They can veto the draft pick. That's for sure. The lottery.
That are on the Anthony Davis trade. We're vetoing it 3 years later.
Yeah, screw that. Let's see. Salute to Lex. Says 132 in chat. 2 more likes to 50. Smash that like button. Yep. Make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Do us a solid. Greatly appreciate it. All right.
Lex, one of the great mods in history. Love you, Lex.
Yep. Thank you for all you do. Definitely a great help to the channel. All right. Now, let's talk about the one, the only Cam Reddish. Now, in the first game, he pretty much gassed us all. Had me thinking this was how he was going to play every game. He had 22 points, 5 rebounds, no assists, 2 turnovers in 28 minutes while shooting 78% from the field, 50% from the 3-point line, and he was 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. Excuse me. Now, against Detroit, he had 6 points, 4 rebounds, no assists, again, 2 turnovers, again, in 18 minutes while shooting 38% from the field, 2% from the 3-point line, and didn't take any free throw shots. Now, Cam against Detroit was very disappointing. I mean, he had some decent moments defensively, but offensively, the shot just wasn't there for him. And then when he did start to get it going, it was mostly him driving and attacking the basket. And what I've seen from that Detroit game, even though he was able to knock down a 3 against Memphis, I think his jump shot definitely needs to get worked on. He definitely needs some work. I remember I believe it was the 4th quarter, there was a play where he was driving left, and instead of stopping to take a mid-range jump shot, he had to take it all the way to the basket and put up a difficult left-handed kind of like a scoop layup. And that's because I think he's not really comfortable in that mid-range jump shot, because that would have been the preferred shot to look for, as opposed to trying to take a contorted, left-handed, low percentage scoop shot. So for me, I think Cam still has a boatload of talent, and we saw it in that Memphis game, and we saw it in spurts against Detroit. But he definitely has to work on his game in certain areas, the jump shot being one of them, shot selection being another. And once he's able to do that, I think he'll definitely be a difference maker in the league. He just has to put the time in and hope that Tibbs or whatever coach he ends up playing for is going to actually give him the opportunity to go out there and make some mistakes and learn on the fly.
Yeah, this is what he did with Atlanta. He put up 20 some odd points, and she's like, whoa, and then he'd have 4 games of 6 points, 9 points, 11 points, 5 points, 21 points. So he's, that's that's who he is. But like I said, if I was Tibbs, I'd put my arm around them and say, man, you have such a God-given gift. Drive to the hole. That's your strength. Don't settle for pull-up threes and, just, contested shots. Go to the hole. You're a great foul shooter. Worst case scenario, get to the foul line. But also, his MO, 0 assists. 0 assists. I could deal with the 2 turnovers, but the 0 assists.
Well, we're giving Obi the blame for one of those because he had a beautiful pass to Obi for a wide open 3, and Obi bricked it.
No doubt, but also there's an element of him that he has all his talent. It's okay to pass. It's especially if they break down with your talent and they converge. Kick that ball out. Don't, like you said, put up a real difficult left hand shot, circus shot and stuff like that. Kick the ball out. But hey, he's really rusty. He's getting off his thing, and I think this thing with Grimes may go another week or so. Feeder takes a while for a foot to feel good. You know what? It bothered me seeing him on the bench. I want his feet in whether Epsom salts. I want him in cryo boo boo. I want it in ice. I don't care, but I don't want him standing every time the Knicks hit a shot. If your foot is bothering you, stay home. Take care of those feet and get back as soon as possible. I don't want you hanging out, jumping up and down for your team, rooting. I don't want that. So, but the longer he's out, Cam take advantage of it, and that it's easy with Tibbs. It's on that defensive end, using that 7-foot plus wingspan in the passing lane. Be disruptive and just learn that playbook. Just play smart basketball and play off your guys, man. And like we said earlier, we were stopping and saying, man, when he plays with iHeart's either in the corner for a corner 3 or at the top. There's nobody in there, so he's able to do his magic. There's not like Mitch is hanging out down there for a rebound and stuff like that. So, and also with D Rose that we'll get into in a few minutes, he's in a perfect scenario where he doesn't have one. He has 2 playmakers with both D Rose and IQ on that second team. And especially 3 playmakers is the proper way now with iHeart that we see without what we're seeing is, so just relax, take our things. You're a slasher. You want to attack the rim. Every 10 shots, attack the rim 7 to 8 times and take 2 3-pointers. Don't take 7 3-pointers and go to the rim 2 times. That's not your game, at least not this time in your career.
So Foxy, I want to ask you this. Do you think there's anything behind potentially some chemistry issues between Quick and also Cam Reddish? Because we've seen some moments where Quick has kind of iced Cam. I think there was one moment in that, I believe it was the 4th quarter, he decided to go to Obi, and that ended up being a turnover, when meanwhile he had Cam streaking to the corner who was wide open. He missed that, but then if you look a few plays later, he missed RJ in the same exact situation. So there are there's some evidence that makes me believe that, okay, maybe it's not the fact that Quick is icing out Cam per se. It's the fact that Quick just may have a blind spot, the guy streaking to the right corner. And also he has a pretty strong relationship with an Obi Toppin. So do you think those factor into it, or do you just think that maybe behind the scenes you have a guy like Emmanuel Quickley and you got a guy like Cam who both can play the same positions, play that too, and technically could be eating minutes from one another in that rotation, or taking away minutes from one another in that rotation? So do you think that there may be some issues behind the scenes, or do you just think it may be the fact that Quick just doesn't see the court as well as we would like?
I think it's a complex thing. I personally don't see them competing with each other. I think Cam is a pure 3. He's not a shooting guard because you have to, as the word implies, be able to shoot, and Cam's not a shooter. So he's a slasher. He's a great in transition, so I don't put him in that. Also, like I said, watching the game, multiple times, there was times where I could tell he was not in the right place. So I think Quickly being a student of the game and knowing the rotations and stuff, saying you're not where you're supposed to be, I'm not going to reward you with the ball. And third, I think he's selfish Quickly. There's times he's icing him out. There was a play, folks, in I think the first game where iHeart was all alone for a dunk. He misses him. So he puts up this 3-pointer Quickly. That's an air ball, but iHeart gets it and puts it up and gets fouled for an and one. But he missed him for a dunk. So, he's an equal opportunity offender, Emmanuel Quickley, of not passing the guys. He's got that chucker mentality. So either he doesn't see him or he lies to himself. It's like, no, I don't really see you, but it's aggravating. That's why he's really good as a secondary playmaker. But D Rose makes that team, we'll get in. D Rose makes everybody better, because if he had Emmanuel Quickley at the one, I think he'll be doing that more and more, and that brings friction, like you said. Because I'm like saying to myself and a couple other friends, they're saying, "Hey man, did you see Quickley ice him?" I'm like, "Yo, I saw that too," and then I saw it again, and then against this one. That's who he is, man. He has favorites, and obviously Obi's his favorite, but. Can't do that, man. You can't do that.
Yeah, so let's get into some of Emmanuel Quickley's stats over the first two games. Now, against Memphis, he was dreadful. No points, 3 rebounds, no assists or turnovers in 16 and about 17 minutes played. He was 0-6 from the field, 0-3 from the three-point line, and he didn't get to the charity stripe. So against Detroit, he completely flipped that on his head. He had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists to 3 turnovers in 27 minutes, and he shot 57% from the field, 38% from the three-point line, and 100% from the charity stripe. Now, the reason I said that there might be some competitiveness between the two is if you looked in the first game, I believe Quick was the first one off the bench. And then in the second game, after Cam went off and had his great performance, he was the first one that was off the bench. So I'm assuming in this game against the Magic, after Emmanuel Quickley went off, we'll see Quickley be the first guard off the bench once again. So that's why I'm looking at it and I'm saying, we've seen instances where, Tibbs looks at RJ Barrett as a 3. So in moments when those two are out there together, you could say, there's moments where Cam, you could say, is playing the 2 or RJ is playing the 2. There's no definitive roles, I don't think, for those two guys out there. So I think that's why Quick may look at it and say, all right, this guy is gunning for some of my play time, because RJ and Cam can play some minutes together when there's overlap, and that would then, take some minutes from Quick playing with the first unit. So I think if Quick can continue to play like he did against Detroit, that second unit is going to be extremely explosive. We've seen how Quick can be a microwave and a spark plug for this team, and when he's hitting shots, he's extremely dangerous, and that second unit is one that's hard to guard, and I think him and how dynamic he can be as a scorer when his shot is falling is what helps make this second unit extremely dangerous, because you have his ability to put up points in a flurry, and then his ability to get rebounds and also push the ball up the court for a guy like Obi Toppin, and that's when we really start to see the second unit start to pull away from other teams' second unit. And in that Detroit game, if you look at the second unit and how they fared against the Pistons, we ran them out the gym. I think the majority of the second unit had plus 20 plus minuses. So when you look at the fact that we had that blowout win, a lot of that is I think based on the good play of the second unit. So Foxy, I know you don't view Emmanuel Quickley as a point guard per se, but how have you felt about his start to the season so far, outside of him being a chucker?
Well, I said last stream, and I don't see him as a point guard, but I said he's valuable. He's valuable as a microwave, and I thought you brought up a wonderful point that besides D Rose, you saw some Brunson. So, I think Quickley, and we said this, he's much better when he has either a D Rose or a Brunson playing the point, making the decisions that he doesn't have to, breaking down defenses. Quickley is best as a catch and shoot guy. He doesn't shoot as well off the dribble, or at least off multiple dribble. One dribble, shoot, catch and shoot, catch, shoot. That's when he's the best, and that's where the points are like that, where he plays his best. So take the pressure off him in half-court sets and everything. Have D Rose and Brunson there, and like we said, the 7 assists. Hey, it's kind of weird, but he's the type of player that he defies what you see. Games with at least 20 points, more than 5 assists, and more than 5 rebounds off the bench since the start of the season. Emmanuel Quickley, 4. Every other player in the NBA combined, only 6. Other than IQ, no other reserve has more than one such game. Shout out to Tommy Beer for that. So he has these stats. So obviously we know on the rebounds, some of that has to do with Obi leaking out and he's in the right place. But he's valuable, but he's more valuable when he has somebody playing the point and he's playing off ball.
I hear you on that one, Foxy. Also, we have a super chat. This one from Buzzer Beater. Buzzer Beater, thank you for the super chat. He says, should we start a box out campaign? Hashtag box out. What is he saying? Our bigs don't box out, or are we supposed to box out quick for going pecan?
I don't know. I saw iHeart miss a lot of box outs actually, in my notes. So, but hey, believe me, with Tibbs as a coach, those guys will get called out for that. Technique is everything. And, I was having issues with RJ's technique on defense. I know Ja is lightning. I know Jaden Ivey is lightning, but he has to take a different stance, man. He was just, like I said, standing still. They blew past him on not literally every possession, and you couldn't get around a screen. They were blowing past him, and some of that is technique. You got to really, so whether it's boxing out and everything, technique is everything.
Especially if you're not overly athletic.
Or, yeah, exactly. How do you compete against elite teams? Fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
And physicality.
Facts. Let's see what else we have in chat. Sherwin says IQ and empty stats. I wouldn't go and say IQ has a bunch of empty stats. I mean, some of the stats might not hold as much weight in a blowout like the game against the Pistons when, they're pretty much just running up the score. But I think IQ does a lot of things, both with his scoring and his rebounding, that I think definitely help generate wins or help us get victories out there on the court.
Yeah. A quick shout out to Justin, our friend Justin, J Money, to some of you. Hope all is well with you and the little one and the family.
Salute.
Love you, Justin. Hi, Sherwin. Same to you. Hey, I hear you, man. IQ is an acquired taste, especially if you're an old guy like me that likes to play a game a certain way. But he's talented. And like I said, if you use him in the right way, that microwave scorer like a Lou Will, he's incredibly valuable.
Facts. Also, do us a solid. We got 156 in chat. Only got 65 likes. So do us a solid. Make sure you guys are smashing that like button. And if you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. We go live here on the channel every Sunday at 6:15. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you have notifications set to all. That way you're notified whenever we do go live. So, Foxy, with that being said, let's jump into the next player we are here to discuss. And that will be V1. Obi Toppin. So against Memphis, he had 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, in about 13 and a half minutes of play. Shot 33% from the field on only 3 attempts. Now against Detroit, he had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, no turnovers in 20 minutes, and he shot 58% from the field, 40% from the 3-point line, and didn't get to the charity stripe. So Foxy, how have you felt about Obi Toppin to start the season, and has he been doing anything that would garner more playing time? Like, has he done anything to have Tibbs actually look at the bench and say, okay, Obi, we need to get you some more minutes out there? Because it was a little bit interesting that, once Julius Randle fouled out, Tibbs went to Fournier instead of going to the guy that typically backs up Julius Randle and Obi Toppin. So anything that you've seen over the first 2 games that's been pretty intriguing?
No, it's too short of a sample size, meaning we know what Obi's great at. He's phenomenal in transition. He's great slashing, off the baseline for lobs from the dunking spot and stuff like that. So, we're glad that, he came back for a 2 for 5 from 3. Has not, if I'm not sure, folks, I have to go back, but I don't think he went to the foul line, not only in the exhibition season, but he has not gotten to the line as you see in the first 2 games. So, he's got to show that put that ball on the floor and get to the hole and get fouled. That's good. Get your guy fouls and it just makes your shots easier. So, but he has great energy. We know he leaks out a whole lot and stuff like that, but hey, we'll see. It's a real short sample size, but as the season goes, but you can see in 20 minutes puts up 16 points. Hey, that's the spot everybody wanted to see. 28 minutes for Julius, 20 for Obi. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Julius, what we opened the show with talking a little while ago talking about Julius. If Julius plays that way, I can't see Tibbs playing less than 34 minutes, which means 14 minutes a game or so for Obi, unless he finds Jesus Tibbs and puts in Julius at the 5 in a small ball situation and Obi at the 4. But and you said it well. He's a novelty act, helping me out with my words a stream or so ago. He's great at a couple of things in transition and stuff like that. He just has to show more, Obi, I think, for him. He's not the biggest rebounder, doesn't block shots. So it's going to take a lot for him to displace minutes from Randle. And the way he's playing now, I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah,
it'll be exciting, though, when he's on the court.
Yeah, if he can continue to keep that 3-point percentage around 37, 38%, he's not going to shoot 40% every night, but if he can mix it up and maybe a 32% performance with a 38% performance, and as long as it evens out to like 35, 36, then I think he'll get some more minutes and some playing time for Tibbs. But Tibbs just has to trust him, knowing that he's going to knock down shots once he puts him out there. But I mean, we have seen reports from Ian Bagley saying that the Knicks are not going to stand pat. They are looking for ways to upgrade this team, upgrade this roster. And if Julius Randle is going to continue to play the way we've seen him play over the first 2 games, which is not doing anything egregious out there to really cost us games and playing within the offense, then I could see the Knicks potentially shopping Obi Toppin to see if they could bring somebody in to, maybe help out in other areas with this team. And I mean, it would be unfortunate because I think Obi Toppin can be a solid contributor, but like it wouldn't make sense to have Obi on his team playing 12, 13 minutes a game when we could probably get some legitimate value from him if we move him, as opposed to allowing him to go through another season where he's playing little to no minutes and continuing to devalue him out there on the market.
Yeah, hey, folks, I've been really, we're only 2 weeks away from college season. I'm working really hard behind the scenes already in scouting. There's 5 to 7 players already at the power forward position. Some of them are 3, but they'll grow into the 4 position that will be better than Obi. So I would trade Obi in a second. Dress Walker, G.G. Jackson. I think Cam Whitmore from Villanova is going to be a 4 in his career. He's going to be a touch too big for threes. So there's going to be guys that are going to be much better defensively right off the bat than Obi. Much better than him defensively. They're going to be killers in transition because they're uber athletic, just like Obi, and their jumpers will come around like Obi. But they're already much better defenders. So Obi, to me, is if Randle plays anywhere near a second team All NBA, I trade Obi in a second. He's replaceable, very replaceable.
Foxy with the ether.
No hate. I'm just saying it from an analyst standpoint. There's a lot of guys who dunk well.
Let's see, who is better, Obi or Knox? Obi doesn't block better, shoot better, or rebound better. He dunks better than Knox, but Knox has more bodies than Obi and is almost 2 years younger. I would say Knox might be more skilled than Obi, but Obi has more raw athleticism and I think outworks Knox when they're both out there on the court. So I think Obi would give you better production, even though Knox may be able to do more things out there on the court, if that makes sense. What about you, Foxy?
It does make sense. It absolutely does.
Foxy says, I'm not going to wade in those waters. I'm not talking about Knox anymore. Knox looks stressed.
Is it me, or he looks like Luther?
Lex Luthor?
No, who was the guy from Jersey City? Elizabeth Luther Wright, I think it was. Mm. He looks huge. He looked huge to me, like wide. So, he's an elite 3-point shooter. If Knox had Obi's motor, he'd probably still be on the Knicks right now. So, but Hey, we saw him with the Pistons the other night. We're not missing much with Knox.
Yeah.
Nice kid, and he said something that it was on him that it didn't work out. So that's maturity, and he's a really good kid, Knox. I hope the best for him.
Yeah, God bless him.
Yeah. Hey, I see Canel Ben Lawyer. He said Baba Miller. Yo, I thought I was the one. There's this kid that's a 6'11" kid out of FSU. He came from Real Madrid in Spain. That's a scary, scary specimen that may be available if we're in that 12 to 15 spot this year. He's a name that might come up at the end of the season. Baba Miller, watch him, folks. He has guard skills at 6'11".
All right, let's see what we have going on here in chat. Yeah, Keyshawn said if Knox had a Civic motor, he would be competent. All right, Ace of Spade, he said Randle must go. He's still not a fan of Randle.
What did Randle do, Ace, man? You gotta, like I said 2 years ago, you know how hard it is to make second team All-NBA, man. You can harness that talent, especially with Jalen Brunson now, the Brunson effect. You know, if he plays with it himself, he's an elite player, Ace. Seriously.
Yeah. All right, Foxy. So let's talk about another guy in the second unit who played a lot of his time in the first game with the starters, and that is going to be Hart. And based off the PA announcers, it's Isaiah Hartenstein. That's what we're running with, Foxy.
Exactly. I was going to say that. So the announcer, when they announced him at the Garden, saying Stein, I went, thank you very much. I couldn't get it anywhere else during the lineup. So, all right. So Keith and I are going to go Stein and Ihart from this point on.
Yes, sir. We got it good. All right. So at Memphis, he played the most minutes in his career, with 40 minutes in the game. He had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, shot 64% from the field, no three-pointers made, but he was 2 of 2 from the charity stripe. Now against Detroit, he had 6 points, 11 rebounds, 1 turnover, 21 minutes played, and he shot 50% from the field, 50% from 3. And so we just had a 50-50-50 game, 50% from the charity stripe. So Foxy, Ihart played a lot more minutes than we had expected in that first game, but I think he was solid coming in for Mitchell Robinson. Anything from that first game that really stuck out to you? I know you did mention him getting a little bit overextended, seeing that Tibbs had him out there, but I thought it was a little curious to have Ihart play in the OT, even though Mitchell Robinson didn't foul out. The fact that they didn't go to Mitch during that 5-minute OT quarter was pretty perplexing. And did it make you draw any questions or come to any conclusions?
Yeah, that everything changes when you don't have somebody congesting, hanging out in the paint like Mitch. It just opens up the floor, and all he has to hit is one shot for them to keep it there. But his passing off the pinch post, he absolutely reminds me of Joakim Noah, who was so key to Tibbs' teams in Chicago. He has that type of weird shot, but he has this weird, awkward energy, man. He's diving for balls. It reminds me of the guy that you hated playing with it. Really nice guy, but every time I play with this guy, I get I get cut over my eyebrow. I get he's that type of player. He's like a Lambeer, that he's just always playing hustle. And that, I'd rather him be on my team than against him because he's a pain in the ass. So he absolutely changes the spacing. He's what Tibbs has been looking for a long time. And with the other guys, RJ in closing will play better. Randle, they can get to the hoop a lot different with this guy. But you can see. So the game against Detroit, I actually think is going to be what we'll see for the season. 21 minutes, I think, is the sweet spot for him. So I see him around 6 to 8 points. That 11 rebounds, hitting the three-pointer. So I definitely see that's more that we'll be seeing from him. But I love to see, as the season goes on, his chemistry for backdoor, passes. And, so he was a really good pickup. It's only 2 games in, so you can imagine when he actually gets some chemistry with the guys. So he's a really, really good addition to this team because it changes everything.
Yeah, he's definitely a solid addition, and it gives us the opportunity to see what the offense looks like. With just as you said, when other teams' bigs are now pulled out of that paint, and it's giving guys a lot easier access to the hoop, and not having to worry about another big man rotating over to try and seal off the paint. So. For those reasons, he's definitely been a solid addition offensively. I think defensively, there still has to be some work. I know when he first signed him, a lot of people were saying, he's great protecting the rim and things of that nature. But I still think Mitch is the much better protector of the paint, much better rim protector.
Not even close.
And things like that. So I could... see situations where he continues to be the guy that closes games, especially when you're trying to get a little bit more access to the paint and get offense a little bit easier in the half-court settings. And if he can continue to rebound, have that solid passing, like you said, from either out there on the perimeter or in the pinch post, I think he'll definitely fit into this Tom Thibodeau offense, because I'm sure, like you mentioned, he can be another Joakim Noah type, and that's real familiar with a Tom Thibodeau. And we know coaches like Tom Thibodeau, they like things like players that are familiar to them. They like schemes that are familiar to them. So seeing that Isaiah Hartenstein can be somebody that can plug and play in a similar role with Joakim Noah that Joakim Noah had, and also be out there with another guy in a point guard in Derrick Rose who played with Joakim Noah, and Tibbs can bring over some of the things that he did over there in Chicago that were successful, and he can now implement them with two guys in that second unit that, one in Rose who's familiar with that system, and then iHeart who has similar passing prowess. I think we can definitely see some real creativity with that second unit. It's all going to come up to, Tibbs being able to draw some things up.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of Clipper highlights and games last year. He's very good in the roll. We haven't used him I think he had one dunk off a roll so far. So I look for him to do a little more on the pick, do the roll on the pick and roll. And hey, he's showing touch on that floater. We were talking about touch earlier in the show. He has a nice little touch when he gets that ball to pass in that floater in the paint. So we love the floater. We just want Othello to coach him up, stop reaching in for those stupid fouls. Yep. We want to use that discipline to, save 2 fouls a game on those dumb fouls. We don't mind the aggressiveness, but play smart. So.
Yes, sir. Play smart. And we're going to move now to somebody that I just mentioned a little while ago, and that is Mr. O Reliable, Derrick Rose. Boom. So first game, didn't really see too much of Derrick Rose. Only played 12 minutes. He had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover. He only shot 25% from the field. He was 0-3 from the 3-point line. But against Detroit, he completely flipped that on his head. He had 13 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers in 16 minutes. And he shot 67% from the field, 75% from the 3-point line, and 100% from the charity stripe. Now, I don't know what it is. When I see Derrick Rose take a 3-point shot now, I kind of assume it's going in. He's turned himself into, a sharpshooter for the most part. And, I think that's definitely something that we've seen from another older point guard that came over to the Knicks towards the end of their career, in Jason Kidd. We saw him have he was able to build up his jump shot and get better at shooting the 3. And I think Derrick Rose, during his time with the New York Knicks, has been doing that as well. So he's been dangerous from the 3-point line. He can continue to still get into the paint and cause havoc. He's not as fast as, we've seen in his A-Day back in, 2011 and whatever the case may be. But now we're starting to see him be able to get into the paint, be crafty, find his teammates, and still be impactful. And he's able to do it in a limited amount of minutes, and that's important. That's going to be key for keeping him healthy throughout the season. So we've seen to start the season, he's only played 12 minutes against Memphis, and he only played 16 minutes against Detroit. But we're seeing that he can be impactful in those few bit of minutes. What he was able to do in that 16 minutes definitely helped jumpstart the second unit along with Emmanuel Quickley. And I think when those two are going with that second unit, teams are going to have a lot of difficulty staying with us. So we'll definitely see the second unit, like again, just like last season, where the second unit is going to be able to build some leads. I just think now this season we have a starting unit that has a little bit more cohesion and much better talent. So now we won't be able to have those situations where we see epic collapses.
Yeah. Hey, in terms of his speed and stuff, he's still getting some of the rust off, folks. He hasn't played. He's only played basically a couple of games. He didn't play much in preseason. So we saw a glimpse of, as we said, the beauty of Brunson's those built-in minutes management. So him playing 14 to 16 minutes a night, Derrick Rose, are perfect. And like we said, if he can stay healthy, folks, he's the key to us doing either play-in or playoffs. Derrick Rose changes everything, and we said he makes IQ better. He makes everybody better, this guy. Obi, etc. But I'm looking forward to seeing the first closing with Tibbs putting in Brunson and D Rose, two shot creators. So, and like you said, I thought it was a great analogy saying, Kid adding that to his repertoire, 3-point shooting at the end of his career. Him shooting over 40% during our playoff run a couple of years ago. Obviously, he was injured last year, but gotten that stroke back. But he's devastating. He's the personification of a Tibbs point guard. The ability to break down a defense and either make it in the hole with his spectacular layups and stuff like that, or kick it out to somebody to have a higher percentage open shot. So we're going to go far. If Derrick Rose stays healthy, it'll be better for Quick. Like we said, Quick is best with D Rose there. Everyone's better, and he's just a vet. Every team needs vets. We have a whole lot of young kids on this team. Derrick Rose is happening, but I also love Derrick Rose, man. The glowing things he was saying about Brunson. So he has a lot of respect for Brunson. So D Rose to me is Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer. I love that guy.
Yeah, big ups to him. Hopefully he can withstand the rigors of a full season. But that's going to come up to Tibbs, man. Tibbs has to make sure he manages him correctly. And I'm liking everything I've seen so far, especially with some of the rotations. I mean, some people might have some issues with maybe Obi should have got a little bit more minutes against the Pistons, seeing that it was a blowout. I know I have some beef with him putting RJ Barrett and Jalen Brunson back in with like 5 minutes to go in the fourth, and we're up like 20. But
I can actually understand why he did that with RJ.
I guess
only because he's been missing his shot, thinking maybe if he could hit a couple of jumpers, it'll give him some momentum going into the next game. Because he's
so you put him in with Quick, who's not looking for anybody but Obi.
Rest your case. All right, I'll try to win the next one.
I mean, I was upset he put Brunson back into him. Like, yo, where's Deuce? Why Deuce only getting 1-2 minutes? Let's see what Deuce can do for 4 or 5 minutes. We up 20. It was like 22, 24 points around then. I didn't really see the need to go back to Brunson and RJ, but like that's nitpicking. That's not really something you sit here and get overly upset about. You just happy that nothing egregious happened, nothing, no injuries happened, and everybody made it out the game safely. But next time, I would like to see a little bit of Deuce in those type of blowout situations, as opposed to putting Deuce in with 1-2 minutes where we really can't see much of him.
Absolutely. Hey, quick shout out to my friend Anthony R. Please send my regards to Danette, a wonderful wife. Danette and Anthony, great show. I love that show, but even better people. Love you, Anthony.
Fact. So now let's talk about the future. We talked about what happened last week, about the first 2 games, and we got some more important games coming up this Monday, tomorrow. So looking at the matchup against the Orlando Magic, they're 0-3 at the time of this the time of the slide created. Knicks 1-1. You can see started for the Knicks. We know the starting lineup: Jalen, Fournier, RJ Barrett, Randle, Mitch. And then for the Orlando Magic, you've got Cole Anthony, Terrence Ross, Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and then also Carter. Well, what's his face? I always mess up his name, and I got him in fantasy. I just call him WCJ. Wendell Carter Jr.
Wendell Carter, yeah.
All right, so 5
Junior.
Yeah, Wendell Carter Jr. So, Foxy, if the Knicks are going to come out of this game victorious, which we both believe that they have to come out of this game victorious, especially seeing what we have on the slate after this game, what is going to be the main focus of this starting unit, and how are they going to try and expose some of the Orlando Magic's weakness?
Well, this is a game that, Terrence Ross is a perennial Knick killer. And like you said earlier, I wish Grimes was around because he may be lighting up Evan. But otherwise, and Cole Anthony for the Knicks not picking him, he always gets up from Knicks games. And say Wagner. I like how you say Wagner. It sounds really good.
Wagner.
I always think of Apocalypse Now when I think of Wagner. So, but Apollo, we'll talk about in a little while. In a lot of ways, as crazy as it sounds, he's a replica of Julius Randle.
Yeah.
He's a below the rim guy. Mm-hmm. He's not a high flyer, but he's got sweet jumper. He's 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan, and Randle's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan. So that's going to be a really good matchup, and hopefully Mitch gets back into the groove against Carter. But I think we're going to do well. But our second team should really light them up. They're missing a lot of players due to injury. So this is absolutely a win we have to get because, like he said earlier in the broadcast about the games coming up after the Charlotte game, one game after the we get into the crazy part of our schedule. So we match up well with their first team, but we got to just be cognizant that Terrence Ross always kills us, man. Don't put us in a position where they could come back. We got to play hard, play good defense, and that second team got to really destroy their second team because there's really no competition between our second team and their second team.
Similar to this matchup against Detroit, there's some key young players you have to be mindful of, but as long as we play, the start is tough. I think the second unit is definitely going to be the spot where you see that large talent gap.
Cole scored 25 the other night, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's averaging almost 20 for the season in the first 2-3 games.
With Suggs hurting that ankle, he's going to be playing a lot more.
Yeah, he's going to be getting some extended play time. You mentioned Paolo, and he's definitely somebody that's gifted offensively, but he's not the greatest defensively. I think we saw the Celtics try and expose him in a few plays. So Julius Randle is definitely somebody that I think should come out and have himself a great game, whether that be scoring or finding teammates and setting guys up. Because I think Paolo Banchero is going to have his hands full trying to stick with Julius Randle. So Julius Randle may see a situation where he'll get some double teams, and off of that, he just has to make some good decisions. And I think that might be one of the matchups to really keep your eye on. Who can win that matchup? For the most part, Julius Randle seems like emotionally he kind of steps up for these type of matchups. You've seen him against Sabonis where he stepped up and he battled him hard. You've also seen situations where he goes up against guys like Siakam, other high profile power forward within the league, and he kind of tries to elevate his game. Hopefully he can do the same against Banchero, but do it while staying within the flow of the game and not trying to overstep. Also, you look at Jalen Brunson. I'm viewing us as having an edge when it comes to the point guard matchup. I mean, for years we've looked at the point guard position and gone into games where we felt like we didn't have the edge in the matchup, and I think now coming into this game is going to be one of many where we feel like Jalen Brunson definitely gives us that edge offensively. And you look at RJ Barrett, he's going to have some difficulties, I think, with Wagner. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup, having to deal with some of his size and offensive skill set. So I think the starters matchup, decent. They're young, They're not as battle tested as some of the guys you see on our team, like Randle, Brunson, and RJ, Fournier, what he's been able to do overseas. But I think there's still a lot of young talent on that starting lineup for the Magic. And if we don't punch them in the mouth early like we did with the Pistons and let them stay close, you have the ability for guys like Cole Anthony, Terrence Ross, or even Paolo to really hurt us. So as long as we try and maintain a lead and not try and let this get too close in the fourth quarter, I think we should be in a good spot.
Yeah, I think Tibbs will echo exactly what you just said. treat him the way the Pistons are. Don't give him any confidence. Punch him right in the face, and don't let up. Just ground and pound. Just beat him. And I think Randle and Paolo will negate each other. They'll both score a little over 20 points. So, they'll both equal each other out. So it'll come down to other guys. And I think Jalen and Cole, the same thing. I think you touched it. RJ Wagner will be a really key matchup, with his length, Wagner's length and his smarts. He had a facial the other night, man. Fake one way at the top of the key, one dribble, and bam, he jammed it. So, pardon me, it'll be a good matchup. But like I said, when we go to the next slide, you'll see our second team should eat, and that's, I think, is going to be the key to our matchup. Our bench versus their bench, the same thing. Our bench absolutely annihilated, like he's just said, the Detroit bench.
Yep, and speaking of that bench, you can see Grimes still expected to be out. So we're looking at D-Rose, Quick, Cam, Obi, and iHeart. And then you're looking at the Magic. They've got Hampton, Harris, Okiki, and Mo Bamba. Mo. All right, so Foxy, I know you already mentioned that the second unit is going to be a depleted unit, and that we should run them off the court. You can see that they're missing Suggs, they're missing Fultz, they're missing Isaacs, Harris, and they're missing Franz Wagner's brother Mo Wagner. Yeah. So you've pretty much said a lot when it comes to the second unit and how overmatched the Magic second unit will probably be against the Knicks. But anything you want to add before we move on?
Not just Tibbs, take advantage of that. Keep your first team fresh. Don't use that second team to beat them, and let the first team come out fresh. Keep them fresh and use this roster smart. So this is absolutely a win we should have. They're 0-3. Let's make it 0-4.
Facts. We surveyed 100 people. Says Mitch gives the Magic trouble historically. Big Chino.
There's always teams like that every season after season give you a headache. And like we said, Terrence Ross always seems to come up big against us.
Facts. Keep Giggle says Ross can make 7 threes, but he can also go 1 of 9. So remember that. Yeah, he can be feast or famine.
Yeah. And Big Chino, I thought you loved me. What are you saying? I use the word elite too much. I thought I only use elite when it's supposed to be. But I'll make a note of it.
Facts. All right, so Foxy, let's get into the next portion of the show. And this is when we go and we jump around the league, talk about some of the major news stories and things that have been circulating, whether it be within our conference, outside of the conference, or just NBA in general. So let's pull up the first slide, and that will be the NBA rookie report. So we can see we just mentioned Paolo Banchero, but he's among other NBA rookies that have entered the league and have really hit the league on fire or hit the road running. You've got Mathurin, who's averaging 24 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. We've pretty familiar with him so far. We've faced the Pacers twice in preseason, and he gave us the business in the second one. So we can see that he's continuing to leave where he let off from that game and continuing to be and be impactful out there. He's been able to create with the ball. He's been able to play off ball, but there's some nice chemistry between him and Halliburton that I think Pacers fans should be extremely excited about. The next player is going to be Jaden Ivey. He's averaging 17.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds per game, and 6 assists per game. We played him very recently in our last game, and you can see how his quickness and speed are just, different. The way he was able to get into the paint with ease. And once he's able to make better decisions out there and play a little bit more under control, you saw a few instances where he was getting turnovers or getting fouls called and things like that. But there's definitely a bright future for Ivy once he starts to get, his bearings a little bit more. And then we also have Jabari Smith. He's averaging 13.3 points per game, averaging 6.3 rebounds and 1 assist. Now his shot hasn't been falling falling for the most part. I think he's averaging right around 30% from the field and right around 30% from the three-point line. So the shot might not be falling, but I think he's doing a solid job rebounding. And he's one of those guys I think is a project. So it's going to take some time for him to really start making an impact. But I think Houston Rockets fans that have seen, enough from him in the first 3 games where they can see that he is definitely somebody that has some promise. So Foxy, I know you've been studying some of these young guys,
for years. Yeah.
And I've been, following them since they've been in the NBA for the last week or so in the regular season. So anything that you've seen from these rookies, whether it be the 4 on screen or any other ones, that really makes you excited or think that, or give reasons for their fan base to be excited for years to come?
Yeah, Paolo, we said it in our draft shows that when he was coming in, that he probably has one of the most NBA ready games. He has a gorgeous mid-range game. He's a magnificent passer, so he's already playing this, so it doesn't surprise me he's playing this well, and I think he'll just build on it. But like he said, he's a little slow-footed on the defense. He's going to get lit up on perimeter. So, I don't think, on switches on threes, they'll eat him alive in the NBA. So, it's only 2 games in. He'll hit the wall in a little while. Saying, God, I can't believe the speed of these guys, and I can't believe the strength of these guys. Benedict Mathurin, folks, you heard me say it, that we were trying to go all in to get Ivy. I wanted us to go all in, and we had a better chance of getting Mathurin because he wasn't, he was picked 6th. He wasn't in the top, 3 or so. Mathurin's magnificent. Shout out to NBA University. Mathurin has 72 points in his first 86 NBA minutes on 65.9 true shooting, 52 points, 52% on threes. He's unstoppable. That I saw him, I told you 2 years ago, and he went back to school, but I was like, wow, he has uber athleticism. I'm all about explosive first steps. It changes a player. Ivy's first step, you saw them just blowing past people. Mathurin has this athleticism on both sides of the ball, but he has touch. We touched on that earlier. He has beautiful touch, both from the 3. Look at his foul shooting. He's going to be a superstar, man. Mathurin, to me, I said this about 2 months ago, was my favorite to win Rookie of the Year, and he's just coming into the league and pounding his chest, showing everybody. Ivy, like I said, if he gets a dependable jumper in the next couple of years, folks, speed kills is the reason there's that term. He's unstoppable, man. RJ was like, oh my God, I first had to go Ja, now I got to go against a 6'5" Ja, just blows past people. Like he says, he doesn't know the game yet, and he has 6 assists. What's going to happen when he knows the game in a couple of years? So, and Jabari Smith, we nailed it, that he can't put the ball. He was pretty, he's going to be a pick and pop and catch and shoot guy for the first couple of years. He's not a guy who puts the ball on to create his own shots. So, so I thought there'll be some learning pains, but he has a beautiful stroke. You can't teach, 7 feet. So he'll be a great pick and pop guy, and we'll see in the next couple of years. But those first 3, Paolo, Mathurin, and Ivy, are definitely going to be in a lot of all-star teams in the next 10 years.
So, Fox, you don't want to bring up your guy, Eason?
I love Terry Eason, but he's a power forward. He's a different type of guy. He's a lockdown defender. He's not going to be scoring like these guys, so he's not going to, he's a nasty guy. He's not going to get, especially on a team with, Green and a few of the other guys, he's not going to get the touches that those other guys do. So I love Terry Eason, but he's not that. He's not the type of guy who's going to get the touches to be able to win a Rookie of the Year, but he's the type of guy that makes you a winning team. So I love Terry Eason. I wish we took him. But as a defending, steals, blocks, he'll get you, 10, 12 points. But these guys are, Mathurin's going to be a freaking superstar, man.
Well, it's not just about who's going to win Rookie of the Year. We got to keep an eye out on these players because hopefully, a team like Houston might end up having too many young players that they have to keep and might have to make some tough decisions. And who knows? Maybe Eason might fall into our laps, and then we've got a whole bunch of content talking about him throughout the years that people can come and check out.
Yeah. Hey, we were saying about Cam earlier. We want that. That's what A. Eason is, a 6'8" guy with a 7'3" wingspan. Locks down threes and locks down fours. That's the weird thing about going forward with the draft and stuff. There's so many guys that are 3 or 4s or 4 or 5s. So a lot of guys coming out are 3s. There won't be a 3 in the NBA. There'll be a 4. They're just too big. At 240, it's very hard to be a 3 at 240 in the NBA. The guys just blow past you.
I hear you.
Mathurin is unbelievable, man.
So I'm asking a quick poll. Just want to see what the chat thinks. See who they think is the front runner for, or who they think will potentially win Rookie of the Year. So I put it in chat, either Banchero, Mathurin, or Ivy. And go. You guys.
And if anybody says Trevor Keels, you're not allowed on the show anymore.
I'm shocked Trevor Keels got playing time. I was like, why is Keels playing and Hunt's in street clothes?
That was a present. That was a Christmas come early that you could tell your kids that you played Madison Square Garden. This will probably be the only time in your life you'll ever hit the garden floor for the Knicks. Otherwise, you'll be in Westchester for the rest of your life.
Yeah. What you call it? Canal says we should have traded IQ for Dyson Daniels.
Dyson's not even playing. No, I'm serious. That's how deep that team is, New Orleans. So, so he's not even getting runtime there.
Yep, I hear you on that. So we'll transition to another topic I want to put on screen. And to me, this one sounds like tomfoolery. I was like, what is Silver talking about? There's no way on God's green earth that they're going to be able to do this. So Adam Silver was discussing tanking. Everybody's trying to tank for, I have difficulty saying the name, Wembayama?
Wembayama, exactly.
Hey, ding, 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 ding. We got a winner.
Call him Wemby. Everybody's calling him Wemby.
That's what I'll do. I'll call him Wemby. So Adam Silver says NBA has thoughts to combat tanking. Says Adam Silver says that the NBA is aware that teams may consider tanking this season for Victor Wemby. While not naming Wemby directly, Silver said he understands why teams would tank when a once-in-a-generation player is expected to be available. Because of that factor, the NBA commissioner said about tanking, we put teams on notice. We're going to be paying particular attention to the issue this year. And he even went ahead and said some funny business talking about they might have it set up where the two teams with the worst records get demoted down to the G League. I'm like, there's no way in hell you're going to demote.
Yeah, this ain't soccer.
This ain't soccer. This isn't, Argentinian basketball. This is, I know in Argentina when I was looking up Luca Vildoza, that's how they run their national clubs out there. The two lowest teams go down to a lower division, two highest move up. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to take a team with, I think, what's the salary floor? Around $90 million? How are you going to take them and move them down now to being a G League team? And then what are you going to do with the players on the NBA squad? It doesn't
translate to the NBA, yeah.
Not one bit, because now the G League teams get elevated. They're still going to be G League teams just in the NBA. So they're going to be the two worst teams anyway. They're just going to get demoted the following year, and we're going to get the NBA teams back. But then you got NBA players that aren't going to want to agree to be demoted down to the G League. And then what's going to happen with the arenas? We're going to have NBA venues hosting G League games and think that they're going to sell that out. It really makes no sense. Adam Silver had no business throwing that lame excuse out, lame reason out there, or lame idea out there. Because that, to me, there's no possibility of that ever going down.
Yeah. The funny thing to me is, a draft analyst, is that I watched a lot of Wembayama over the last couple of years, especially over the last month, the two games that he played in Vegas, and he had a really strong game the other night. I would pick Scoot Henderson over Wembayama. I absolutely think Scoot, as a point guard, has more impact on the rest of the team. I think Wembayama is a generational player. He's such a fluid athlete at 7'5" with an 8-foot wingspan. Reminds me a lot of Porzingis, but one of the things he reminds me of Porzingis is he misses a lot of games. He has that real thin frame, so I think he's going to be sensational, but I'm worried about him having a long career in the NBA, getting banged up. But if I had my pick, I'd take Scoot at this point because of the impact he has on everybody else, and I think Scoot truly is a generational player. I absolutely see a young D. Rose and Scoot Henderson, and over the next couple of years, he's a crazy mid-range game. His reads on the court at his age, at 17, going into 18 now, are just blow my mind, his IQ. So as his he doesn't have the three-point shot yet, but that'll come over the next year, I would absolutely go Scoot over Wembanyama.
So if you had to decide, and you were the president and GM of basketball operations, do you sign Brunson in the offseason and try to make the playoffs? Or do you do a stealth tank, not sign Brunson, let the young guys play and see if you can't get one of these top 2, top 3 picks?
I'd go back and I'd trade for Benedict Mathurin. I'm serious. It was a lot easier I thought it was a lot more feasible for us to get Mathurin at 6 than it was Ivy at 3 or at 4. So, I'd go back. If I go back in time, I'd absolutely do. They made a couple of blunders. I'd do both. I'd sign Jalen Brunson, but I would absolutely would have went after Mathurin but. Somebody, I think Utah, somebody's going to be happy with Wembanyama. Whoever gets Scoot is going to have really a player that makes everybody around them a whole lot better.
I don't even know if Utah gets Wemby. They're out here winning games. They didn't get the memo.
I know, but it's early in the season, man. The reality, over time, reality always comes through.
Yep. So I closed the poll on the one about the rookie watch. We have 50% thinking Paolo's going to win, 46% think it'll be Mathurin, and then we have 3% with Ivy. So it'll be neck and neck between Banchero and Mathurin. And also, there should be another name on this list, but he falls into that same kind of body style with Wemby, and that'll be Chet Holmgren, and he's dealing with an injury. He couldn't handle LeBron James going into his chest. So, I mean, that's kind of grim to think of. You know what I mean?
And also, Chet's a lot tougher than Wembanyama. There's a guy that went to the Nuggets in the draft this year, Ismail Kamagate, that played in Paris. He doesn't deal with physicality very well, Wembanyama. He has very low field goal percentage. I'm old school. If you're 7'5" with an 8-foot wingspan, you should be like Mitch, shooting 70% at the rim because most of your shots are dunks. He's shooting like 40%. In the league he's playing. He's doing a lot. Like I said, he's playing a lot, nowhere near the rim. He's doing a lot of KP stuff, long shots. And so he looks beautiful, fluid form. My God, look at him. Look at that. But, over the last couple of years, he's missed a lot of things with nagging injuries. Thank the Lord he hasn't had any catastrophic injuries. But when you play against the animals in the NBA, man, they're bangers. They are bangers. And we'll see. That's why... obviously I wish him well, but Scoot's my guy at this point.
Hey, you on that one. We also have a viewer submission in chat for our poll. He said that Keegan Murray's going to be the rookie of the year.
Well, he's playing his first game. He hasn't played so far, so he'll be getting into it. Keegan's smooth, man. A beautiful stroke, 3-point stroke. He's a 3-level scorer. The problem is he did most of his points in college were at the post, and he won't be doing that in the NBA. So I think he's going to have a little getting used to the NBA game, but he's a class act. I like that kid a whole lot.
Yeah, I got him in fantasy too. I don't know why I scheduled these drafts during the time I work. When it auto drafted, I ended up with Keegan Murray. I was like, I don't know how to feel about this, but I'm gonna just run with it.
Yeah, but I also think by the end of the year, another player that we'll maybe be talking about is Shaedon Sharpe. Seeing a couple of glimpses of him, he's the real deal. He's rusty, hasn't played a lot, but when he gets into his groove, man, he's scary.
Facts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, do us a solid. We got 143 people in the chat, but we only got 98 likes. Do us a solid. We only need 2 more to get over that 100 threshold. We've been on here having some quality discussions. Do us a quick favor. 2 more likes get us over 100. Helps me feel a little bit better. I'm under the weather, and it'll help Foxy feel better as well. Oh, and before I even finish the sentence, we get to 100 likes. That's why I rock with y'all. You guys always hold me down, hold me and Foxy down. We greatly appreciate the support. Thank you for that. And we're at 102 and counting. Let's run it up. Thank you guys for all that. We had a solid stream today, Foxy. We got into a lot of discussion. There were 2 games that we had to try and get into, and the performance of about 10 players that we had to talk about. Got into the Around the League segment, started to talk about some of the things going on. We'll continue to bring that segment back to Sunday stream now that we have games going on. Foxy, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, that again, we're starting our journey this year. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. We're 1-1. Hopefully, we have 4 games, including Sunday next week. Next week, the game is at 6:00. So we're probably going to be doing a pregame around 4:30 or so. Yep. Is that right, Keith? We'll be planning it. So we'll be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks at 6:15 or 6-ish, as we like to say.
That should be the name of the live stream, right? 6-ish.
Absolutely. But we appreciate everything. And again, just real quick, I'll take a minute or so to just say, Rapper Stone, Big Chino again, JJ, Anthony R again, say hi to Danette, Sherwin, my guy, Westchester legend, Francisco Carrillo, JJ, as always, man, he's so cool. We surveyed 100 people again, the best mods on the planet. Justin L again, give the little one a hug. Lex the Destroyer, Adele Chapman, please say hi to Avery, Canel Ben Lawyer, Julian Blum, John Talento, Jesco, Delano Steele Jr., the real DSJ, Citizen X. We surveyed 100 people, the Wrench Mob, the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do. Willie Cruz, B. Willis, so many of them from day one. DeRoss, we just love you guys, and we promise you can see, the visuals and all the stuff. We work so hard to make the show entertaining, so we guarantee it'll be it'll be a great season, but it's only great with you. You're the third host of this show, and we absolutely appreciate you so much.
Yep. Shout out to Willie Cruz. He also was holding you down too, Foxy. Somebody had mentioned you mentioned this. Somebody said you say elite too much, or he had to throw it in that you're an elite NBA analyst, and I've got to agree. So thank you, Foxy, for all you contributed to the channel. Definitely greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We really appreciate all the support. This is a start to another season, and hopefully this season gets us somewhere into the playoffs. We don't know where in the playoffs, but hopefully we'll get there and we can start the journey all over again. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Keith of Sports Vibes TV, joined as always by my co-host and NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we are out.
Love ya.